Dear coach and fellow speakers, good afternoon. Last time, the coach was mentioning that most of us have difficulty in choosing the topic for presentation. So as usual, I was going through a similar exercise again, trying to decide what to talk. Then I thought, today is the last session in our public speaking series. Any capstone class or session is usually an opportunity to reflect upon what has been done, and also at the same time to take a peek at what future is in store. So I thought, let me talk today about the future. Before you run away, I'm not going to do any crystal ball gazing. What I'll do is, I'm going to talk about one particular trend that's going to impact us, and that's probably going to change the way we live in future. So without much ado, so let me just start. So this is a small video clip which I have, which I call it the teaser. So you can just guess what I'm talking about.
Imagine everything was linked. Let's say a professor at the university is not feeling well and calls in sick. An automatic system at the school could send an alert to all the students that the class was cancelled. Furthermore, this information is passed on to a system that adapts my agenda. It calculates the new time to my next class 2 hours later, taking into account public transport timetables. It could also reset my alarm clock to wake me up a bit later, and it could adjust the central heating system and the coffee machine.
Imagine we had an Internet of Things. Wouldn't that be awesome?
So any guesses what I'm going to talk about?
Automated world.
Yeah, so for those of you who have not said yes, so I have one more teaser. So take a look at this one.
Imagine everything was linked. Let's say an elderly person forgot to take a pill prescribed by the doctor. This could trigger an alert warning a family member on their mobile phone. If that person is not available, it would make a call to a second family member. Now, if this person is also unavailable, it could then alert a local emergency centre, which would send someone to check things out.
Imagine we had an Internet of Things. Wouldn't that save a lot of lives?
Okay, so as noted in the slide, so today I'm going to talk about what's being called as Internet of Things. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard this term, but this, as the coach said, it's about bringing all different things together, automating it, which basically provides a lot of new applications, better way to lead life, and maybe make it possible to do a lot of things which were never possible before. So that's what I'm going to talk today. So before I actually talk about the topic, I thought I'll just also say what's the target audience for this. So first thing, since it's only a 10-minute presentation, it's only a very generic, I'm going to talk only about at a very high level about the technology trends, and I'm not going to talk about any one particular how it's implemented or how to realize the system or so on. So what I've said is, so this target audience, anyone interested in knowing the latest technology trends, because it's a very high level presentation. And then the next one, I said anyone who expects to be alive in 2020 and beyond. So I'm sure every one of you do expect to live by then, right? So the reason I said 2020 was because a lot of experts predict that by 2020 is when this Internet of Things, you're going to see it in its full scope. So what I'm talking is not science fiction. It's actually being implemented as we talk today. So some of you may like technology or some of you may detest it because it interferes or it's intrusive. But then you have to live with it because that's the way things are going to be in a few years from now. As they say, this is going to be what you call the new normal. So before that, I want to talk about what is the internet that we know about. So I'm sure every one of you keep using internet every day and have some idea of what is the internet. So it is actually what you call the global system of interconnected computer networks. So that's what we all know internet is. To say it in a few words, it's basically a network of networks. And for those of you who know some history of that, it basically started as one of the US government's defense group called DARPA, which basically funded a project which basically said, how do you transfer information between one computer to the other computer? That's where it started originally. So the ARPANET was the first network which was done in the US by different educational institutions and the defense department. So it started in the early 70s, where the first rudimentary form of email or how do you exchange files between computers with FTP was actually born. And then the 80s saw the introduction of interconnected TCP/IP networks called Internet. So the Internet which we talk today originally came in the early 80s where the TCP/IP protocol came. So I'm sure those of you who use a computer will know that there is something called a TCP/IP protocol which actually works behind the scenes to transfer data. And the Internet actually became a disruptive force since the mid-90s. So I have a slide here which says, why do you think Internet has become so disruptive? Because I put this slide because so that I can talk about why the next Internet of Things is actually going to be even more disruptive. It has actually spawned the World Wide Web. Many of you know that Internet and World Wide Web, it's almost become the same. But technically speaking, they are not the same because Internet is a network of networks and World Wide Web is where all your documents or it's basically a repository of information. That's what is the World Wide Web using the hypertext protocol. Information retrieval has been reduced to search and click. So whatever you want today, you just sit at your laptop or desktop, just do a search and click. So it's become as easy as that. So that's become so disruptive. Data sharing and media streaming. So today we just seen at the beginning that we just played a video clip. So the media sharing has become so easy. You just go to YouTube to get videos on anything. You go to education tutorials like I talked about Khan Academy a few days back. So you can just go there and you can search for any topic you want and you can start learning it. So that's what I've said, it's become so disruptive because of the ease of data sharing and media streaming. Another thing what I call is people-to-people communication. So internet has essentially made people-to-people communication easy. So like example is email, voice and video chat. And some form of limited machine-to-machine communication, which is what you call business-to-business or B2B. Like for example, your banking systems. Like you do a transaction, you get an SMS, so that's like a machine-to-machine communication. So that's a limited form, but the main thing as I see it, it's become disruptive because of people-to-people communication. So now, the main topic, what you call is Internet of Things or IoT. So this is a term which is actually being used to describe this, which is like, it's connected to the physical world by ubiquitous sensors. So far we have said Internet is actually between computer to computer or people to people. Now we extend that. So in this network of networks, you're going to talk with physical entities, you're going to talk with people, you're going to talk with computers. So that basically expands the scope. So this was a term coined by Kevin Ashton in 1999, who co-founded the Auto ID Center at MIT. Just I want to interrupt, you said 8 minutes? Okay. So the IoT, as I said, it's a people-to-machine communication or machine-to-machine communication. So that's what I've said. So I've shown this picture at the beginning of this. So I thought let me just talk about it now. So what this basically is you see at the bottom, all these are like Bluetooth, Zigbee, actuators, sensors. They're all like protocols where you have different sensors embedded in devices. So you basically collect all that information, and then these are all the rich services that you have. So I'm not sure you can read it. Basically, it says all the domains that's going to impact you. For example, you have a smart home, you have a health sector, you have transport sector, like that. For example, I can give an example about a smart home. Like, for example, in West Asia now, a lot of people never switch off their ACs because it's so hot. By the time you go home, it takes 1 hour to cool. So they never switch off their ACs. So one of our customers, there's a company called Algorithm and Sons which came. So they said now what they're looking at is they want to control the ACs through their mobile. So before they come home, 1 hour before, they can open their this and switch it on. Look at the temperature range. So that's like what you see, machine-to-machine communication. So this is a small graph which I've given, which is basically shows technology evolution. So what we are saying is, by the time we reach 2020, where we basically have very advanced sensors and software edges which can basically do this Internet of Things. Okay, so this is one slide which I have, which basically says, what are the issues in realizing this Internet of Things? So one thing is obviously people should have enthusiasm for gadgets, and this is basically a chart which tells you what is the uncertainty and what is the impact. So the main, the greatest complexity is in basically building the intelligent agent software. So that's where you have the uncertainty. So conclusion, Internet of Things is going to take automation to the next level. You can basically talk to every device is going to become intelligent. So new category of services will be increasingly offered to reiterate systems are currently being deployed to realize the Internet of Things. So this is not science fiction I'm talking about, it is a reality. Thank you. Any questions?
You say www and internet is different. What does it mean?
What I basically mean is people use it like the web has become so synonymous with one another. But internet is basically like, it's a network of networks, which is basically like, you can talk from one computer to the other computer. Whereas the World Wide Web is actually information, which can be what you call hypertext, or you can basically access one information, it's a link. It's a chain of information linked together, which is basically put on a web server. So that is the World Wide Web. Whereas the internet is just like the network, you can basically talk from one computer to the other computer. You can just transfer a file. But that is not web. So that's what I mean the difference. It's become so synonymous, it's become disruptive because everyone associates, it's become like so normal for everyone, so they just think World Wide Web internet. That's what I mean.